Good day and welcome, people of YouTube. Welcome to Shadowhawk Explains, Tabletop Simulator and Caverna. And we have some housekeeping to do, but also let me just... Yeah, there are three there. Good. Okay. The first bit of housekeeping is that we should have an extra ore on here. Second bit of housekeeping is that you should have an extra wheat and also an extra dog, which we'll put... Also, that tile should be locked, Elkie. And he did land safely. Also, that should be locked as well. Have I got a load of unlocked tiles everywhere? Probably. Okay, everything else seems fine. So, yeah, normally in a board game, if somebody misses a benefit or something they should have got, I mean, it's a bit of a mixed thing here. Because arguably they failed to notice their advantage, failed to take it, and the mean gamer in me, and it does exist in all fairness, thinks that if it's been a while since they made the mistake, really the time's gone and passed. If it's in the same turn, definitely, yeah. Oh, I should have grabbed that. Normally, that's fine because you know it slips my mind. Complicated board games, it happens, and we play board games for fun, not to be mean to people. Though white definitely should be mean at the moment because white is in a bad way. Red is probably in the strongest position board game wise, and green is probably somewhere in the middle. Nevertheless, we now begin round 7, and it's still all to play for at this point. But we'll see how things go. First off, actually, before the round even begins, green picks up a ruby. Huzzah for a set of wildcards. Let's say, is that locked? Yeah, that's the Elkie to unlock. F to flip. And I don't know why that one would have been locked. Okay, fair enough. We'll lock it now anyway. So we now find ore delivery. I've also replenished all the stocks from the last round. So that is +1 stone, +1 ore, and +2 for each ore mine. So, spacebar. We begin with white and the level 0 dwarf who must go first. Oh, actually, before we do this, we need to find out if there's a harvest. There is a red. Also, this will happen if you don't lock tiles. Things will occasionally pass through things. Lock. Place that on the top one there. And as we see from there is no harvest this round. The second time a red tile is drawn, we'll have to pay 1 food for every dwarf, and the third one will have a harvest where there is no field or breeding phase. The last couple of rounds are probably going to be a bit mean unless we get 3 reds and then all the greens. Still, we don't have to worry about feeding the family this turn, and that might present an opportunity. White does have the additional dwelling. White could... Oh, so that's not locked either. God damn my inability to lock things. Okay, well that's all dwarfs. Right. What I'm considering doing here is actually going a bit risky and going family growth. Now that would give me extra actions. It means I've got to face 6 food and I've only got 2 definite. Well, 4 definite I suppose if I have that as well. And I can... Alright, so I've got 5 food if I absolutely have to. But family growth is a bit dodgy here, I'm sure it is. It's the best opportunity White's going to get, and I think White needs to take it because we need to get back into the game. So White is going to go family growth. And thus we now have 2 levels, we now have a 3rd level 0 dwarf on the way. So, on to Red. Now Red also kind of wants to do family growth and get up to a 4th family member. We've got a food engine developing for Red. Red actually is in a very strong position. Thanks to the slaughtering cave, every animal is worth an additional point of food to her. And in fact, because of the way the rules are stated, if she sacrifices 2 donkeys, she gets +1 food for each, meaning 2 donkeys are worth 5 food. So a donkey farm in the near future is definitely something that Red will want to consider. So, all her dwarfs are level 0, so she doesn't have to worry about that. What she needs for an extra dwelling, then, is an extra 2 stone. And I think the best place she can go for that is probably strip mining. But does she want to do that just yet? Because it's more than possible that somebody could actually decide to be mean and release the sheep. Basically sacrificing all the 4 sheep for food and denying them to Red. It's a valid tactic, actually. It's 4 food in the sheep pen. If you really need 4 food, it's there. Is it the best plan, though? Red is very sorted for food. She'd probably want to sow at some point. I wonder if the rules actually allow you to buy... Right, this is what I'm considering here. I could go for a single space additional pasture. I'm just seeing whether the rules allow you to do both on the phase, or whether you have to pick between them. Build fences. Exactly one meadow into a small pasture, and or exactly 2 adjacent meadows into... You can do both. Now that's key, because what I might do here is slash burn, getting another tile, putting that there. In fact, that's what I am doing. Now, I should point out one other instance of the scoring rules. Every space that is unoccupied at the end of the game is a -1 victory point. So there is an additional benefit to doing that beyond, you know, just randomly screwing people over. But we can now plant 2 crops. So that goes down there, which we shall copy and paste on top, because there are now 2 of them on there. And 1 wheat, which goes there. And a 3rd. That'll do for now. Doesn't have to be neat. Just has to be tabletopped. Right, so now we can get a lot of wood. We're actually in a really good shape here to go. There's plenty of wood tiles available. We can either take wood clearing or forest exploitation, depending on what comes up here. We can even take logging if we wanted to block somebody's thing there. Go for strip mining later. In fact, we could just go strip mining and do it this turn if strip mining stays. Well, on to green. Now, green has a level 5 dwarf, and what does green want to do at this point? Ruby iron would probably be reasonable. Immediately picks up an extra ruby. But I think actually what green is going to need to do, and is going to do, is logging. So immediately green has picked up a stack of 6 wood, which is not bad at all in a lot of ways. And can go on a level 1 adventure at level 5. So, the level 5 adventurer can pick up a boar if they so wish. And they can pick up... I think they might even go level up here, because that would allow... That then gives a level 9 dwarf over here. And a level 9 dwarf can start actually mining or getting single pasture lands, which isn't necessarily a bad idea considering the current board state. Or we only get 1, so I think what we might do here is just take the level up. So this dwarf will level up twice to a level 7. And this will go up to a level 9. Because mostly we did that for logging, actually. It's just the miscellaneous benefit that we got there, which we're going to take advantage of for green. Because we need... yeah, we need to start taking advantage of our adventurers and trying to get a bit closer towards endgame here. We will need to go and... See, sustenance would have been a better option, a good option as well. But we now have enough stone to go and get one of these things to try and help us out. The writing chamber, we could go for negative... Basically preventing 7 negative points. The treasure chamber could be interesting for a decision for green at this point, because we have a lot of rubies coming in. Ruby mine, and the rubies are still available, actually. Well, we move on to now white's turn, and we have a level 10 dwarf here. So, what is the plan here? I think the plan... You know what I should have done? I should have played these dwarves out of order. In fact, they wouldn't have made much difference with it. We're going here. Sustenance. Because even though we don't have the food now... It's just 2? Yeah, it's just 2 food. Oh, free food then. Okay. So sustenance gets us free food and a wheat. And also we get another field space, which gives us a second boar. Which we'll lock in there and copy our boar. So we now have some basic food supplies if we decide to do it. But what I'm looking at with with white is to try and go cattle farming. Trying to get enough wood and things to start grabbing. You know, cattle are worth a lot here. They're worth 3 food each. I'd like to get a breeding pair of cattle and see how far I can get with that. I can also now trade exactly for 1 cattle with ruby food if I so wish, which is possibly what I'm even considering doing at this stage. Just convert ruby and free food into free cattle. If I can get the ruby farming with white next turn. We're still starting player after all. There is 2 food and 2 ore on the starting player side. But let's see what red wants to do this turn. So, as already kind of discussed, red would like to go and grab the double and then the sheep farming. So, what red is going to do is red is going to go onto wood gathering and pick up all of this wood. Now, he could have gone for the pumpkin instead, and it might have been an okay plan to do that. But stack of wood. Just stack of wood. Okay. Green. Now green sees what's happening here. And green is not in actually a critical way in food supplies, and it has to be said. But it's trying to look and plan here because green does want to win. We could go blacksmithing with a level 9 dwarf. And that would give us the ability to make a small pasture. We could have extra tunnels. We could put a stable down. Oh, I've noticed that the stable can't be placed on a wild space like this, for example, to get the boar. It doesn't work like that. You need to actually cover it with a tile, which I think I said wrong last time. So just to clarify that. We could even just go rubies. And given that we can go treasure chamber as well, that might be an okay plan here. But it's 4 victory points if we go for that. Or we could start opening up, grabbing additional stuff, or it's difficult, this one. A level 9 dwarf, we do want to take advantage of that. But is it the best thing to do right now? It might even be worth nabbing starting player here. Because directly we don't have a lot of food. We got plenty of things we can convert in all honesty. Alright. Here's the decision. Ruby mine. We're placing that there. On that space, which means we get an additional ruby. Also means if we go rubies in the future, we will now have 3 rubies there. So huzzah, we're now sorted, and we are probably going to look towards getting the treasure chamber and seeing how many of those we can store. This feels like an error. It does feel like an error. White has no more pieces left that they can play. Red's turn. Now red, of course, having observed everything, can now see where this is going and will in fact go here. We will then just move the sheepdogs. They can go to any space they want to, in all honesty, because they're not counted as that. Just move the sheep away. What we will then do is we shall in fact spend 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and we will buy a small pasture, which can go there, and is worth 2 victory points. We shall buy a large pasture, which will go there, and will be worth 4 victory points. And then we're going to buy a stable with 1 stone. I'm also going to reduce the size of that because those are ridiculously sized things and also facing the wrong way. So there we go, stable. So this can hold double the number. And in fact, you can double the things again if you have another stable here. I've checked the rules. You are allowed to do this. You are allowed to double stable a pasture to make it 4 times. And also in that space we now get 6 sheep. And the 6 sheep can all go in here. 1, 2. We might have to do some odd stacking techniques in a little bit, but we can manage that with a right-click thing for the moment. 5. So red is now permanently sorted for food. There is no chance that red is going to starve at any point. The path is clear now for red. Get as many people as possible. That is the only objective red has now. Trying to get to 5 workers and then seeing how much of the board she can actually take. Possibly getting back into the adventuring side of things. It's a very, very strong plan. So, everybody returns. Grab the red tokens. They can all go there. Grab the new level 10 dwarf and also the others there. Go there. White's probably quite glad they're still starting player considering how things are about to go. Double green. Heads back there for now. Right. Restock the board. So, 1 additional wood goes there. 1 there. 1 there. 1, 2, 3 there. Additional stone. That tile's getting nice now. Stone to stone. Need 1 extra food. Copy. Paste. Paste. And I need a stone ore. Because it is a dish that is double stone, double ore that gets put on there. That's a nice little tile, actually. And 1 additional ruby. So. Oh, 1 ore. This is, I mean, it's in the middle and I keep forgetting it. 1 sheep. And then getting more tempting all the time, 1 donkey. So, start of round 8. 1 ruby goes to green, who now has 3 of the things, and can do an awful lot with that if they so choose. Exploration, that is a level 4 adventure. So, that's presented some opportunities. So then, the first thing we kind of want to do here, in fact, we definitely want to do this. Level 10 dwarf has to go last, of course, unless I change the order up. We're going straight for ruby mining, which gets us a lot of rubies. We now have 5 because we get an extra 1 from ruby mining for having a ruby mine. So we're well in... Oh, actually, before we go any further, it's another red token. Let's do it around. I'm just going to shuffle the bag, which you can shuffle in the same way as Dex. Just making sure it's not put in, although it's been... Where'd it go? Yeah, that's actually the red token I put there. Yeah, it's fine. No, I just wasn't sure whether I'd add multiples, but that is actually a game piece there. We don't need that for now, actually. So, there is 1 more red and 3 more harvests to come. At the end of this round, we pay 1 food for every dwarf. White has already sorted that out and is not going to change their opening move because of that. 4 rubies is a great way to go here. So, on to red. So, red wants donkeys, I think, at this point. There's not a lot else I can do with donkeys, in all honesty, but just the fact that we can sacrifice 2 of them for food and keep 1 in our home, which we can do, makes that worth it. You can put donkeys into mines as well, if you have a or a... Yep, thank you. And 2 donkeys out there. Right, so if you have a ore or a ruby mine, you can put 1 donkey in each of those. Which might be somewhere Red's going to start considering now, because we got a lot of points there. It might be worth starting to excavate here, get additional stone, and that'll allow us to go for dwellings as well, because you do need stone to do that. In fact, with the amount of stone on the board, it might be worth going for a dwelling now. We only need 2 for a simple, if it gets taken, and 3 for the main one if it doesn't. So we can even go dwelling family growth this round. We have 3 food there. We have 1 wheat as well. We can sacrifice any of our animals to basically make the cut. So red, yeah, is going for a 4th family member this turn. Unless we feel like stopping red here. So, what are Green's priorities right now? Green's priorities are probably to try and just make sure we're okay for the next harvest, to make sure that we're doing okay. We would absolutely love to send a level 9 dwarf on a level 4 adventure. Absolutely love to do that. And in fact, we're going to do that. So, we're going to spend one... oh, hold on. Can we do this at level 7? No, we need the level 9 to do it. If we spent 1 ruby, and I'm just thinking for a moment, we could go have a tunnels. We could then... yeah, 1 tunnel, 1 stable, which we could put in place as well. The reason I'm thinking tunnel here is that allows me to have an extra ore mine, which is something to consider at this point. Pick up a bucket load of ore and not do an awful lot with it. Level 9 does give us a lot of additional things, but I think we're gonna hold off for the moment and just debate how we can actually continue the game and actually get the most benefit out of it. So I think we're going to need to open up some more space. So what I'm going to do with green at this point is go for excavation. Pick up 2 additional stone. And grab one of these, which you can put either way round. So, now that's because of a lift height that did that. As you notice, it sort of catches on the end there. You can adjust the lift height in the thing up here. And this changes how high you lift things when you pick them up. So now that can be flipped over like that. Be careful though, of course, because you're dropping it from a higher height, and especially with things that will scatter when they land. It's a physics engine, it will do that. You just want to be careful with lift heights in general. So, we could go and set up a load more caverns. We could open up this area here. But I think what we're going to do is we're going to assume we can get another mine here, get some additional points that way. 3 victory points for each mine. That allows me to make another. We could even just actually make a ruby mine there. We wouldn't get the ruby this turn. But there we are. Now, the other reason for that is I'd have to spend a ruby to go and do any more here. And that's not what I'm actually going to try and do at this stage. I don't need to do that. What I'm going to do is I'm going to go and go sheep farming. And I'm immediately going to cull this sheep for food. You may ask, why would I do something like that? I will explain in a little bit. The other thing I can do is... oh, hold on. No, hold on. Now, this is Control Z. You can backspace and go back through moves. Alright. There was a consideration of what I was doing there, though not a great one. Because while I can make a single space thing in one turn, I can't make a double space one. See, I don't actually need to go sheep farming, because I can actually just use level 10 dwarf to do that. That is rather silly of me. So, this guy is actually going to go and try and procure some more wood. And in fact, we're going to procure some more wood here. Right click, thank you. For some reason that wasn't working as well as it should do. Yeah, you have to be holding, it has to be basically glow white. Once it glows white, that means you're underneath it. And you will pick it up. So that eventually leaves me with 6 wood. And a level 10 dwarf still to play. So, your turn then. Plenty of food available, plenty of sheep, breeding pairs of things coming up. Is there another donkey? Oh, the donkey fell off, that's what happened. There, you can stay there. So, I think we're going to go and do some drift mining. Or actually, no, we're going to go and do some strip mining instead. Drift mining would probably be better. But we'd only be able to get a simple thing out of that. And here's the thing. The dwelling is worth 3 victory points, so we could just get that there. We get -2 for filling that space in, so strip mining is definitely the better option. Gives us an extra ore. Not that we used a lot of it, but hey, we got that option. 3 stone. And we copy up 3 more wood. 2 more wood, rather. So there, we're now pretty set for... Hold on, I've completely gone backwards on what I was thinking I was doing here. No, we do need the cat. No, we couldn't do it this turn because we didn't have the stone. We need the stone in order to furnish the cavern. And unfortunately, the wish for children is an ore. So we will have to furnish the cavern and then get it set up next turn, I think. So, we might want to nab starting player. Especially as there's free food on it. Level 9 dwarf is going on a level 9 expedition. Because there's really not a lot of reason to do anything else at this stage. And we didn't spend the ruby, so we still have that available. So, at level 9, we can go and add an extra tunnel space. And I think we might even do that. But we're just debating things at the moment. That allows us to go additional mine, and just rack up some victory points in the mining stakes. Furnish a cavern. Now, furnishing a cavern we can do. So that would allow us to then go grab our treasure chamber for 1 stone, 1 wood. I'm just working out things out at this stage. So that would be 2. 1 furnished cavern, 1 of those. The next thing we could do is go and take a couple of victory points. If we have 4 victory points, we can actually convert that for free food. And that's actually cheaper to do it this way. So extra victory points might be a way to go. And then also having an extra... If we had an extra level up, that would allow us to get to cheaper dwellings. And also the ability to just basically take meadowland tiles out whenever we go and do things like that. There's also sewing and various other things that are coming up. Right. I'm sort of doing this in stages, I know, but I'm going to just plop that... I'm going to plop that there because it opens up a few more possibilities for mining. So that's 1. Secondly, we're going to furnish a cavern. So I'm going to take that for 2. And we're going to take our treasure chamber, which we have to put in one of these, and that means that was probably the wrong place to put the thing in all honesty. But there we go. So we now have the treasure chamber, which I'm just going to make sure I put in the right place. Lock. Okay. So that leaves 2 potential options. And I think the 2 options we're going to go for... Because we still need to spend 1 food for each family member at this stage. We could... I could pasture that land off for 1, but it doesn't give me a lot of benefit right now unless I put a stable on there as well. And then I don't actually have the food. So 1 extra pumpkin. Because that actually feeds both. We only need to pay 1 food each. So the pumpkin sorts that out. And then we're going to go for a level 1 pasture land. So one area pasture. It doesn't actually change the things on this because it's still the same. But next time we go on an adventure, we might just stable that up and just double things. Because we're not in a harvest situation as of yet. Now the sheepdog can interestingly still stay there, and the sheepdog actually overrides whatever rules of the tiles he's on if it so chooses. But we can use the pasture there and just move him somewhere else for now. He can guard the entrance. Good dog. Right. So that puts us up to a level 10 dwarf. So we match whatever white's got for the moment. Speaking of white, we now have this situation. And we can't go the ideal place we want to go, which is a shame. We also do not have the double tunnel space set up to go and do ore construction. What we can do, though, is go and... we can go logging for a level 1 adventure, or we can just take the level 3 adventure. And I think we need to take the level 3 adventure, because what I'm going to do here is I'm going to do that. Now, we are level 10, so we can go and immediately buy for 2 wood rather than 4 wood. It's cheaper to do it this way. Build a pasture land. We'll also move the dog to guard dog position. And lock that in there. So, huzzah, we have that. That's 1. Next thing we're going to do is we're going to sacrifice free food and free rubies. And for those, we're going to buy free cattle. Because they are the biggest food producer we have. And thus, free cattle. Each of them worth free food. And all is good. So, that's 1 thing bought, actually, because the rest we use with our rubies. Well spent, I feel, as I'm sure everybody will agree. That's reasonably well spent, at least. Next thing we're going to do is, because we still need some food, So we could have a boar and just slaughter them off, which would work. Fortunately, we don't have the room for an extra one at this stage, unless I do something silly, which I don't think I can do, actually, in all honesty. I don't. If I was level 11, I could make another meadow space and then another pasture land, but we can't quite do that this round. So, is there anything I can furnish with just wood? Stone supplier for the next 5 rounds, but there's only 4 rounds. There's only 4 rounds left, but it might be worth it. Stone carver immediately plus 2 stone whenever you furnish your cavern. Well, that's actually quite good. And I do have space for it. Yeah, I think we're going to go and do that. Okay, so we're furnishing a cavern for our second option. And we're going to take the stone carver, which immediately gives us 2 stone. And I'll place that at the back. Okay, that might not have been the best of plans in all honesty, but we've got other ways we can spend money, spend things. So that then allows us to go and get 2 stone immediately. Actually, I'm just going to copy from you. So 2 stone. Next, we have one last action, and I think the action is grab a pumpkin. Okay. So, what I could then do is convert a boar, perhaps, to 2 food. Grab 2 more cat. Yeah, this is the way to do it. So we're going to immediately then It's really just promoting up and just holding things in reserve. We want this cattle farm basically off and running. We don't have any stables, though. Okay. Okay, well, we'll consider that a little later because Red still has a move to go. Now, Red would like to put another dwelling in place, and in fact is probably going to. Family growth or furnish a dwelling. She's the last player, so it doesn't really affect her which way we go with this. We could slash and burn our last vegetable, I suppose, but that's not massively important right now. Ore mining. We could do some more drift mining and just get a couple of extra rooms set up. We could. Could we even go on a level 4 adventure at this stage? No, there's not a lot of benefit to doing that. Okay. So I think Red's plan then is to go grab the extra dog, which now means we have 3 dogs. They're all worth a victory point at the end of the game. Every animal is worth 1. And we can furnish a cavern. And we're going to choose to take a dwelling. We could possibly have taken starting player, admittingly, because that's now up to 4 food. I think that's going to go next turn. Somebody is going to take that. So as we have an extra dwelling for 1 dwarf. We have an extra dog. Red is done. Okay, feeding time. So everybody must pay 2 food. Immediately, I think we're going to spend a ruby rather than spending our vegetables at this stage because we want to try and up our farming quota on this side of the board. Alright, Red is actually able to do this with just food, so that's 2 food. Oh, free food. In fact, that is free food I need to pay over here. Okay. And a wheat. Okay, that's free food. Over here, we still only have 2 dwarves, so we just pay a pumpkin and we are done. Right. Return home. Green. Also, you went on an adventure, so you're now level 11. And level 11 dwarves now have the ability to go and place single metal spaces and also dwellings for a reduced cost of 2 and 2, which we actually have enough to do. Whether that's a good plan or not, I'm not sure. Right, red, and red. Okay. So looking at things then, Red is almost certainly going to go for another family member this round, even though we are going into a harvest. She has more than the ability to pay 8 food. White, probably not. In the meantime, that's a ruby going to the Ruby King over there. And flip. Family life. Now immediately this causes the family life tile here to flip to urgent wish for children. So a couple of changes here. This one is furniture dwelling and then family growth. Or this one is just family growth and or sow some fields. Both of them potentially useful. But here we go. Is there going to be a harvest this round? And if so, how severe is the harvest going to be? It is a normal harvest. So 2 food per dwarf at the end of the turn, plus we have our normal family growth and things. And amazingly, White is still starting player. And such is White's joy of... Oh, actually, I've got to restock. Restock the board. Right, food. 1 there. 1 there, which is why White is almost certainly going to go... Actually, I don't know what White's going to do at this point. There's 4 food there. That can't be ignored. Clearing and 1. Copy, paste, 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 and stone. Paste, paste, paste. Okay, strip mining was empty this turn. Just make sure that all stacks properly. So that's 4 food. 1 additional ruby needs to go onto here. And then 1 donkey and 1 sheep. So that's now up to 2. And we need to grab a donkey from over there. Okay. So yeah, White is still starting player. And I think White, seeing... How much food is that? That's 2 food. And also a ability to go sustenance as well. Which... Good though the starting player is, I feel we want to try and maximize our points a little more at this point. Furniture Caverna or stable, you receive... We can build stables for free. That's what that basically says, looking at that. So, it might be worth seeing about trying to get additional stuff in. We only have 1 ruby left, and of course we could use that to go on a straight level 11 adventure. Allow us to place an extra meadow space. So you go meadow space. Dwelling. Pasture, single pasture, cattle. But then we need stable as well. And in fact, we have... Oh, yep. Okay, sorry for the abrupt ending to the, well, midpoint of the video, I suppose it will be when I eventually stitch these 2 back together. Got interrupted, various things happened, and I've had to revisit this a couple of days later. So, I've completely lost the train of thought. All I know is it's round 9, and it's White to begin, and I think what I was debating with White was whether it was worth going on the level 11 adventure, which would allow me to go meadow space, pasture it for 1 wood, make a dwelling, and also get myself possibly a stable or something for the additional cattle. Which does have its plans if I'm going for 4 dwarves at this stage, which is not necessarily a bad idea. However, I've been kind of thinking here, we need 6 food at the end of this round, and also we do want to try and maximize our point scoring as much as is possible. So, what I'm going to do in order to help myself out with that is I'm actually going to go and take sustenance. So you immediately gain 2 food. So that's 2 of the 6 we will need at the end. We get additional wheat, which I'm just going to copy over from you, thank you. And we gain 1 placement, which is going to go here. Actually, doesn't suppose it matters too much. It's going to go here, and the plan is basically to see if we can grab an extra boar for an extra 2 food if we want it there. So we actually have the option of possibly even slash and burning, converting the boar immediately for 2 food, getting crops harvested, and that's going to help us out a lot, actually, if we do that next round, actually. It's... Actually, let's get all those out of the way first. But that'll give us 2 food immediately, 4 food for the boar, and when we harvest, that'll definitely give us the 6 we need, and we'll still have the level 11 dwarf available to do something. The other thing I was considering with White is the milking parlour, which would allow us to immediately gain free. Free food from doing that. However, actually, thinking about this another way here, we could go on an adventure, get the cattle, then gets the cavern furnishing, and then we get 4 food, which gives us 6 we need, and wouldn't actually deal with any of our other resources. So yeah, cattle furnish for 2 and 2, which we have. Leaves 1 wood spare. Couldn't really do a dwelling as well, but I don't know. It's worth considering. Anyway, white is gone. So now it's red, and red is in by far and away the strongest position of the 3 players at this stage. Now red wants to go and get a 4th dwarf here, and there's really no reason why you shouldn't at this point, I don't think. We have family life, so we could also harvest the grain if we so wanted. We could also, though, take away the furnished dwelling space and do that, though, because it's still possible that white might go mad and try and do this. Inferior would have the food for it. There's also green to consider, and green definitely could do with a 3rd worker at some stage very soon. So I'm going to take the space which is a bit more optimal. Actually, no. I mean, this is the thing. Green already has the extra dwelling, so green can have that anyway. White has not got the extra dwelling, so I'd be blocking white if I did that. And I suppose it just allows us to have a little more stuff. So we're going to sow an extra wheat. Apologies, I have a window open. It's pretty much hottest day of the year thus far, so therefore I have things open. And that adds an extra 3 wheat, which is an extra ½ point for each wheat at the end of the game. I will get into point scoring at the end of round 9, because at this point it really deserves explaining, because it will then pretty much justify my future actions, in theory. So now we move on to the level 7 dwarf up here. Now, as already stated, we do want to get another worker here. And in fact, we're going to go and consider going straight for it. Other things to consider, there is a level 10 adventure space available. We could go for an ore mine and go on a level 2 adventure, which would allow us to go there, immediately grab free ore. But we want to save that if we can. We could also go massively into rubies. Now, at this point, from green's perspective, rubies are absolutely vital. We get an extra. Rubies are worth a victory point in the end of the game anyway. With a treasure chamber, they're now worth 2. So, it is worth considering things. We have a lot of stone. We can go and try and upgrade some things here. Environmental negative points might be worth considering grabbing. Defenses receive a discount of 1. Cooking cave might be a thing. The other side of the coin is that we could go and do a slash and burn ourselves. But I think the priorities here are, let's go and grab... We can furnish a dwelling and then do it. That might actually be worth considering here. So if we were to do that, and then we were to take, say, the food chamber. No, not that. Which one's the one that allows us to... The cooking cave. So that would be 2 stone, and we could then immediately convert our pumpkin and wheat into 5 food. Hit 1 farm animal on each empty field. Anytime before scoring 2 wheat becomes 3 money or 4 food. So the beer parlour is potentially useful as well, and actually it's probably worth more points. I will just have a quick check I am reading that right, but I'm sure I am. I mean, this is all considering what I'm going to be doing this turn if I do it, because I don't have to. Oh, it is a dwelling. It has to be a dwelling if I go there. Ah. Do I want another dwelling? I probably don't, in all honesty, but it's the only space I've got available. So, let's put the extra token on, because, you know, we need to remember these things. And so, therefore, green will now go up to 3. And that's all free money, which we're not... 4 free victory points, which we're not going to take. So green still has to get 5 food at the end of this, but if we absolutely need to, we can go cooking cave, and that will allow us to do it. There's still the furnished cavern space available here. There's still the... That's tab key, by the way, to point, which is used in the multiplayer. There's still the expedition we could use to try and harvest things, and we have 4 sheep, of course. And it's a level 10 adventurer, so we can work things out with that. So the second level 0, and what we're going to do is we're going to slash and burn. I think. So 2 food is got. We have a ruby. We have... You see, if this had an extra stone on it, I'd like to go there because that would allow us to have more chance of getting the dwelling and the other things going off. We could... No, I think slash and burn is the best way. It blocks 2 spaces, and each empty space is a victory point at the end of the game. Allows us to have a double pasture there if we so choose. And we immediately get a boar. Now, because we can't hold the boar anywhere, we're going to have to immediately convert that for food. So that now becomes 4 food. Once you know I can get convinced them to stack properly. Okay, so we have 4 food and 1 extra dwarf to go, who can probably go on an adventure considering enough of the spaces there. We'd even go logging if we absolutely had to grab a pumpkin or something. So, on to red. So red has 4 dwarves next turn and must pay 7 food this turn. This is not necessarily a problem because we have a bucket load of sheep. And we have a thing which allows us to slaughter animals for an extra food each. So... some plots and schemes. I think one of the better plans at this stage of the game is probably to prepare for a 5th dwarf. So we are going to go... We could nab starting player, actually. 4 food, starting player. Yes, we're taking starting player. And we immediately get 2 ore from that, so I'll just copy the ones we've already got. And we might be debating, actually, when we go next dwarf, whether it's worth going blacksmithing and taking a level 6 adventurer. Because level 6 allows us to do a lot of things. We can get money, we can have extra boars, we can take extra donkeys, which, you know, we could then immediately trade for 5 food. There's enough in a level 6 adventurer to now start taking red on the adventure route, at least for 1 dwarf. Green, though, has a level 10 dwarf and needs 5 food this round. So, we're going on a level 4 adventure because it hasn't been taken yet, and that is required. We need to do that. So, at level 10, we could immediately take cattle for free food, which would solve one bit of the problem. We could put a stable down, which allows us to hold extra sheep. So we might take... I think we're going to take a stable in any case, and also I'm just going to reduce these, the negative key, a couple of times. I thought I did that already, but apparently I haven't. So the first thing is a stable, which goes there, and now means that can now hold 4 sheep, which means we can hold a total of 6 sheep up here, and yeah, huzzah. So we're not wasting things at this stage. So that's 1. The cattle, I think we are just going to immediately slaughter for free food. So that's free food there, 1 cattle. So 2 food required. I'm going to go and do the furnish a cavern. And we're going to spend... Actually, do we want to do it that way around? Oh, do we want to do it that way around? The reason I'm considering this is because we do obviously want to have the space available there. Although we could... Level 9 adventure, I can put these tiles in. So I could put that in, and that still allows us to make an ore mine. Which, if I check there, yep, over to 2 of those. So we can make an ore mine here. And then furnish the cavern allows us to go and get the cooking cave. So I'm going to actually do that for 2 stone. Cooking cave goes there. Extra victory points all around. We'll lock for tiles, of course, to be helpful. Also make sure I've done that over here, which I hadn't, as it turns out. Lock. Okay. So that was the level 10 adventure. We now go up to level 11. And overall, that, I feel, was not a bad play. We're going to lose a pumpkin and a thing there because we still have to pay food here 2 food required. We could use a ruby for that, in all honesty, but we'd prefer not to. So we now move on to White's level 11 dwarf. So with a level 11 dwarf, I could go on a level 3 adventure. I could go logging and take 1 item. I could take this spot if I just wanted 2, but if I'm going to do that, I might as well go blacksmithing anyway. Is there something I can do that is mutually beneficial to everybody? We need 2 more food. So I suppose the worst, I suppose I could easily just go sheep farming, but it's cheaper for me to go and do it this way around. So I prefer to adventure for it. I think we're adventuring. So, level 3 adventure. First thing we need to do here then is go for 2 wood will allow me to put a large pasture in there, which we could then just, you know, take up with sheep. We could put an extra field space in there. What do I have in terms of things here? We actually have the milking parlour, which is what I was looking at. So I think we're going to go take an extra cattle for our first one. We're then going to take the milking parlour. We're going to furnish a cabin. So the milking parlour goes in there. Immediately we gain 4 food, which copies what we already got, meaning I can now have 8 food there. Nicely stacked. And we get extra victory points for each of our cattle, so they're now worth double. The third thing we're probably going to do, because there was cattle there, the milking parlour did cost me these 2, so I get rid of those. Could go for a single pasture space, maybe. There's a harvest coming up. But given it's my last token, we are level 11. I think what I want to do... I mean, I could make a 1-set pasture, and that would allow me to basically breed my things there. But I think, no, actually, I'm at the limit of other things. So we're just going to build a stable, which will go there, and that means this can now hold 8. If I put it there, it can hold 16. We're not quite at that level yet, but you never know. We might be someday. So that's the adventure done. We now move on to Red's last dwarf. Oh, Red, by the way, is now starting player, because we took that. So Red has to pay 7 food this turn. Can't blacksmith because I've kind of blocked that with White. It was an interesting thought, though. What I could do, though, quite easily, is just go take another space such as that. I could take a pumpkin. I could start cracking open some of my territory a little bit. I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to go drift mining. Now, I'm deliberately going drift mining for the extra stone, because with the extra dwarves, we can pick up things that are worth victory points at the end of the game and try and maximize our point score a little bit. Say stone storage, ore storage, etc. So that's now done. We can then put one of these down, and we're going to put it down in this manner. The other thing is negative points. We have a negative point for every unused space on the board at the end of the game. So currently, Red has 8. White has 10 unused spaces, and Green has a lot, but they haven't nearly mined out the mountain. So they've now got to concentrate on the farming issue a bit more. So, we then go into the things. So field phase to begin with. Pumpkin comes off. 1 pumpkin comes off. 1 wheat comes off. And a second wheat comes off. No field spaces up there going. Next up, feeding phase. So White must pay 6 food. Thankfully, we easily have 6 food. We, in fact, have it without having to spend any of our other resources. And there we go. Red needs to pay 7 food. So that is 3 of it done there. I could pay this off with a boar if I wanted to. That would be 2. Yeah, in fact, we're going to pay a sheep because that gives me 2. Taking us up to 6. And I'm going to get rid of one of my wheat as well. So that's 2, 3. In fact, no, hold on. Yeah, 2 for the sheep, 3, and then the food goes as well. So as we're all sorted. That's all done. Green has a little more work to do. We need 5. However, we can easily now just actually do that with just these two. And because of the fact we can do that, we're going to do that. We're going to keep the free food in reserve for next round. That ends that. Was that the best way to do it? Probably not. But still, we've done it that way now. So now we go into the breeding phase. So 1 extra cattle gets bred here. We don't have the space to breed an extra boar, so we don't get the opportunity to go and breed and sacrifice it, unfortunately. There is the extra space for the pin there, and there's the extra space for the thing there, and there's actually the extra space for the donkey there. So I'll tell you one thing. Red is looking fairly good in terms of just having some things. I mean, it's possible we could go ore mine construction and just... I don't know. We'll see how it goes. And because we now have a stable in there, we can now have 5 sheep up there, which is 5 food if we want it. We now return the dwarves home. 3 rounds to go. Red is very close to getting a 5th dwarf. In the expanded game, there is actually a 6th dwarf space. Yeah, I did. Hold on. Did I level you up? No, I didn't. I couldn't have done, because now you'd be level 12. No, hold on. I've apparently stolen Green's workers. That's what I've done there. So they have a level 0 dwarf, which they might actually go and bother upgrading in a little bit. This should go up to level 12, which is what I was thinking. And we'll have that back and that back. And then we all restock the board once we know this. So first off, Green gets the 5th ruby. And that's the ruby supplier out of the way. We flip and it reveals the ruby delivery, which has 2 rubies on it. And gets 1 every turn. We have 1 additional one there. We have then 1 additional stone. And 1 additional ore going there. We then have stone going there, there, and there. We then have wood going there, there, and there, and there. Then we need some food. So I shall just borrow one of these briefly. Thank you. 1 there and 1 there. Right, next up, 1 additional donkey, which is a pair, and 1 additional sheep. So, Red begins. So Red's priority is probably to go and get a 5th dwarf going here, because while we got the advantage, we might as well try and push it. So we're going to immediately go for the good old, zoom in with the Z key, housework. So we shall have a 4th dog. And we shall pay 4 wood. And 3 stone we picked up last turn, and we have another dwelling. So we have now got enough to go for 5 dwarves, and having 5 dwarves is big. You can get around it in Caverna to a certain extent, but 5 dwarves is always going to be better than 2 dwarves. And I think that is slowly becoming Red's game, if it wasn't already. The advantage of going for the alternate strategy, I think that is, but we've got other plans, potentially. Now, Green considers how Green is going to come back into this game. We're going to have to do something massive to turn this around for us. We need to basically convert a lot of this area into field spaces. We also could do an extra pumpkin, because we kind of lost that. So what we're going to do is we're going to plan, I think. First off, we're going to go for the ruby delivery, because rubies. We actually do have now 7 of the things, and they're worth double points to Green, so that's 14 victory points there, and a lot of abilities to do other things if we want to. Speaking of, we now go to white. Oh, also, one thing I didn't check. What is... Okay. So we have a harvest, but we must skip the field or the breeding phase in this harvest. So either we get nothing from the fields, or we don't breed our animals. So... moving on to white then. White, we do need to pay a lot of food here. We need 6. If we had a child this turn, we would need to go up to 7. And that's what white is now considering. Because a fourth dwarf with 3 rounds to go could be huge. It also allows us to put 2 pumpkins in place. Harvest those as well. So that's 4 food coming off next turn. So that gets to 6. I think white has enough in hand to do this. So white is going to take a gamble. And we're going to gamble on family life. So immediately we'll have the extra 0 dwarf. And we are going to put the 2 pumpkins in place. 1 and 1. So 2 dwarfs still to play. Red to go then. Red now have the extra cavern and seeing what everything else is doing. I suppose we could actually have gone straight here. Yeah, I played a little suboptimally there, but we get an extra point for the dog anyway. So we are going to go straight for here, and we are going to take dwarf number 5 there. So we need to pay 9 food in this turn, but there is so much food available. There's 6 food there if she wants it. There is 5 food there. She has enough. Red can definitely feed her family for the next 3 rounds, because the next 2 are going to be harvests at the end of this. It's guaranteed, because all 3 red markers are out now. So there'll be a harvest at the end of round 11 and at the end of round 12. This is the hard one, though. Alright, green. So green has the first sort of go at this, and what we need to do now is we need to get ourselves back into the game a little bit here. So what I'm going to do with green is I'm going to spend one of our rubies. And what we're going to spend one of the rubies on is a vegetable. The reason we're doing this is because we are going to go with a level 7 dwarf slash and burn. So we immediately place 1 extra field space down, which we shall place like this. Pick up an extra boar. The boar we're going to immediately sacrifice for 2 food because we can't actually hold it anyway. So that means we have 5. We need 1 more food in total out of this, and we can definitely manage that. The other thing we're going to do is basically put a pumpkin in there and a wheat in there, which we are of course going to copy down and copy down. So we have 5 food guaranteed for next field phase. We probably won't be breeding with green, and in any case we only get an extra sheep out of it, so that might be worth considering. The other thing we can do with a level 11 dwarf is pasteurize this place and possibly go conversion into cattle. So, moving on to white. White's remaining level 0 dwarf is considering, and oh, actually, hold on. I should have got an extra ruby out of that. The reason I got an extra ruby is we have a ruby mine here. The reason I was considering that is because that's what I'm about to do with white here. Go for rubies. We have 2 food. Could cover another space up, get an extra wheat. Consider some other things. We could go logging or something like. We could go clearing, get ourselves 4 wood, and then go for pasture land next. Because in fact I could do both, so that would allow me to have a pasture there and a pasture there, and then we could move into getting donkeys and sheep next turn. It's negative 2 points for every type of animal you're missing at the end of the game, and donkeys can go in the mine, so it's not massively important if that happens. I could spend the ruby and go on a level 4 adventure with the level 12, which will allow me to go and actually sow as part of my actions. So getting an extra wheat or something could be helpful too. Or we could go and I'll consider it, but what we're going to do now is we're going to use a level 0 dwarf to pick up all of this wood. And get another field space in. So we're going to place that there. Now means we're only losing 2 points from our outside fields. We have 3 more we really need to cover at some stage, but we can manage things like this. This is more manageable. Red's turn then. Red now has all 5. And what Red is going to do now is try and just push her advantage a little bit. And we're going to push the advantage by... In fact, we're going to go with this. We're going to grab 2 stone. And we're going to take a double cavern space. And we're going to place that there, which immediately gets us 2 food. Since you have 2 food, I'm just going to copy that over. So 2 food, 9 required at the end of the round. And also we have multiple rooms now available. And yeah, only 6 negative points coming up. This is all looking good from that perspective. So, we've managed to actually get ourselves to a position where we can go on the level 4 adventure. And looking at things, that's probably the best way to go. So we're going straight on the level 4 adventure. So, first thing we want to do is we want to put down a pasture zone, which is costing us 1 wood. Next thing we're going to do is we're going to buy some cattle. As soon as I find out where the cattle are. Going to buy cattle, and that can go in there. So that is actually 3 points. Well, it actually fixes 5 points, because we no longer have a -2 for missing a cattle, and we now have an extra point for, you know, having a cattle in the first place. So, yeah, that's a lot of conversion there. Plus 3 at least, and that's 2. We can then go and grab 2 victory points if we so wanted to. Or, we are level 11, so I could go and put another field space in. In fact, if I'd have thought about that, I could have... Oh no, it actually wouldn't have connected up. So we're going to put a field space in. Fortunately, there's nowhere I can really put it that's going to... Actually, that can go there. The reason we do that is because that allows us to move towards that boar. So that's there. And, of course, we have this guy who can hold 2 sheep like this. The reason this is worth considering is because now... So, we've done pasture, cattle, extra field space. The reason that's worth considering is that if I go and put another field in there with either of these, I get an extra boar out of it. And we can now hold a boar back at home. So, with all that considered, I'm going to take a pumpkin. We have 5 food. We need 1 more food out of all of the rest of that. That should manage it. We feed after the field phase if we do that first, and obviously green will be fielding. So that's all fine and all good. Level 12 dwarf then. Level 12 dwarf is going to possibly even go logging here. But it depends what's the most beneficial thing I can do. I can go and take 3 rubies. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to spend this ruby. And we're going to buy another. We're going to get another pumpkin. We're going on a level 3 adventure. First part of a level 3 adventure, we are going to use the sow action. So that immediately sows that, and sows that. So we have a lot of food in the fields at this point. Next thing, of the second part of the adventure, we're going to go and take a 4-long pasture, or a 4-point pasture, which I'm going to put in there. Make sure everything else is locked. It should be. So that's 2. Number 3, I'm going to take a couple of victory points, I think, unless I can think of something else I want. Actually, I'm going to take another cattle. Because we can, and they're worth double points for me anyway, I'm going to take another cattle. So that's my adventure done. And we now move on to Red's last move. So Red has 2 food, requires 9. I think what Red's going to do at this point is take the 2 rubies, or possibly the order delivery. The thing is, we don't need an awful lot at this stage of the game, do we? Stone storage could be fun. We could go and blacksmith, which allows us to then have more efficient weapons, so going us straight to +8. With a starting player as well, so actually that might be a very good move. Unfortunately, there's no furnishing cavern spaces left. So I think what we're going to do here is go weaving parlor, I think. Makes it no same problem. We can't do any of these yet because we don't have the spaces. Remember things. So, with everything else kind of left, I suppose could go for a double. I mean, that's the thing. We could take 6 food by just taking the sheep right now. No benefits really here, but it could be done. Also, I don't think I copied an ore in. No, I didn't. I didn't copy an ore in. So, huzzah. I caught that, I think. If not, there's 1 extra ore. Oh, sorry. We have lots of dwarves and, you know, lots of things we could do. What do we actually want to do? I think we might end up taking the ruby mines just because we don't want them to build up and we know both the other players can get more benefit out of that than we can. So we're going to take 2 rubies for the last move. Green has already made the last moves. So we now move on to... Starting player is red, so she has to do the harvest first. Just because. Right. So we can either skip the field phase or we can skip the breeding phase. And because most of our points are in the breeding phase... Actually, no. Think about this. We might want to... Okay, let's cull 2 donkeys at this point to begin with. And the reason we cull 2 donkeys is because what we want to do is we want to convert them for 5 food. And yes, it does work that way. So that means they now have 7 food. Because each of the double donkey converts for 3 food, but each of them are worth 1 extra one because of a slaughtering cave. Hence, yeah, we can slaughter 2 donkeys for 5 food. Now, do we want the field phase or not? Now, I think we're going to take the breeding phase, so we're going to skip the field phase at this stage. Green is obviously not going to skip the field phase because that... Oh, that wasn't locked. And that'll also explain why you're being a bit weird. Locked, and we'll have the cattle back. So green is likely to be skipping the breeding phase this round, so green is going to go and harvest plants. Did I already do that? I can't remember. I'm having sort of moments now. White, then, I think, is also going to go for field phase because we actually have so many things. A lot of pumpkins, and they're worth points at the end of the game. I think it's a point per pumpkin. So white's doing okay. Then, feeding phase. So 7 food for red, and she needs 2 more. So I think we're going to give up a ruby at this point. I should really have done this one by one. Doesn't matter. So we fed. Over here we have 5 food. We need 1 more in addition to that. So I'm just going to spend the 5 food, and I'm also going to get rid of 1 of the wheat. So that's 6. Next up from there, white needs to pay 7 food. So, with all of our things kind of sorted, actually, I really am a bit low on food, aren't I? Oh dear. Right, we can pay 2 victory points for 1. We could sacrifice 1 of the cattle for 3 food, so that would be 3, 5. Yeah, okay. So 1 cattle, 1 pumpkin, and 2 food, and that's white dealt with. So at this point, breeding phase happens for you because we actually didn't skip it. Unfortunately, that boar can't enter the board, so we're going to keep things as that. The breeding phase doesn't happen here, and breeding phase does not happen over here. So that's the end of that round. Let's bring everybody back home. Level 12, level 0. So we are now very definitely at endgame. 3 rounds to go. It's all about optimizing as much as you can grab. Filling up all the spaces, grabbing extra points. Actually, hold on. This level 11 dwarf went on an adventure, didn't he? He's now level 12. I'm really bad at remembering these. And you're now a level 13 dwarf. Not that gives you any additional benefit, in all honesty, but still, you're now a level 13 dwarf. Enjoy it. Right. So red is the starting player. But for now, I need to go and add things. So 2, 3, 1 extra food, which can go there and there. We need to borrow a ruby. 1 there, 2 there. This space is getting interesting. 1 there and one there. So I think we might be consider. Somebody's going to consider that. And have one extra ore there, one extra log here, 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 and one extra food. So there, giving a stack of 3. Okay. One extra donkey. And one extra sheep, which is worth 8 food for that. Just to show, it is a extra harvest, and we flip the ore trading. So for 2 ore, we can give out 2 ore 3 times for either 1 food or 2 victory points each. So this space is now worth a lot. And in fact, it might be worth so much, and we got the spare dwarfs to go for it, that, yeah, we take it. So that's 5 and 5, and it allows us to basically just walk the board a bit later. Come on, 5 of those. We might go weaponeering, as I said. There is a slight advantage to doing it, and we're going to have the 8, so there we go. Right. Green, level 0. What we need to do here is probably, because we will need to pay 6 food at the end of the round. 6 food, regardless, will have to happen. At this point, then, we're going to go for sustenance, which gives us 3 food. 1 extra wheat, which means we have the 5 food set up again there. 1 extra wheat. And immediately, we can have a boar. And because of sheepdog duties, we don't have to worry about anything there. We can just go and pick up a wild boar and put him in home. So donkeys we still would like, but we can work on that. In fact, we could go donkey. We could possibly even go donkey farming next turn. Put a donkey there. Sort that out that way round. Depends where we're allowed to do that, because other people might want to consider things like that. In fact, what White is going to do this turn is go sheep farming. So we're immediately going to have all 4 of these sheep. They're worth a victory point each. At the end of the game, we have just enough we just have just enough room for them. Don't have the ability to go and put a stone in place, but we do have the ability to go and pasteurize the other single space, which means we can set up for donkeys as well. We're going to be late to the party on that one, but we can do it. So back to red. Red wants to try and grab. I think we might be grabbing the, not the wood supplier, the stone. Oh, actually, the weaving parlor would be nice now. We have 7 sheep, so that would be 7 food immediately. That's basically food sorted out for the round. We would then get victory point for every 2 sheep as well, in addition to any other bonuses. We have the things. I think we're going to go and furnish a cavern. Grab an extra dog. And we are going to pay for the weaving parlor to go there. So that's 1 stone, 2 wood. And we immediately gain 7 food. Three, 4, 5, 6. So there we go, 7 food. So that's pretty much it done with. We need 3 more food for this round to get red safe. This is the food engine that red has built up. They are now at the point where they can just go maximize victory points. They don't have to worry about food at all. The other 2 players are not quite up to that level yet. Speaking of not quite up to that level, we have you. And I think you are going to go and nab. Actually, green might be going and nabbing the rubies at this point. Yeah, we're going to nab 3 rubies. No, hold on. Hold on. Got to think about this a little, because we could go ore mine construction, go on the level 2 adventure as well, which would then allow us to go and do things slightly cheaper. At level 7, though, we can't quite get that. We can do the furnished caverns. We can go and take an extra boar. We could go and take a donkey. See, there are reasons for considering this. Or I could spend the 1... I could spend the 1, actually, first. Go get ourselves a breeding pair of cattle. Put a stable in there as well. Oh, this is tricky. This is tricky. Because our green's best chance of winning at the moment is coming from just stacking bonuses as much as possible. Stacking bonuses and trying to reduce costs. We still need 6 food at the end of the round. There is 2 food on the starting player option, which might not be a bad idea. So if we went ore mine, then ruby mining, would that be better than doing it just going ruby mining now? Because actually that... No, we're going to take the ruby mines. So huzzah, we now have a large stack of rubies built up. That is 20 victory points just staring at us there, and we're not quite done yet. We have our food sorted in this. We have 10 food. We do have enough food, actually, for what we got there. Just what we're saying there, that's 13 food. That's enough for the next 2 harvests, assuming we don't add any more people, which we can't do anyway because we don't have a dwelling available. Might not have been the best of plans, in all honesty, but we're going to go with it anyway. White, then. White does need 8 food at the end of the round, and I think we're going to start... We are going to start with slash and burn. So we've now finished out our field with that. So we're getting no negative points there. I've got another place set up so I can put an extra stable in there. I can then immediately go and harvest 2 of my crops. So we're going to take pumpkins because they're worth more points. And so we are actually looking okay because we can get our points through pumpkins. And we do have now only 6 to go. We can pick up donkeys a bit later. Things will work out, possibly. Possibly. Red now will probably want to consider screwing up other players because now it's starting to look like endgame. We have the advantage. We do have the advantage, but it's not a guaranteed thing at this stage. We could go for the +1 for every 3 animals. We have 5, 6, 7... We have 14 animals at the moment, so that might be worth 5 points at the end of the game. Currently. Or we could go for ore trading and just stack up a load of victory points at the moment. Or we're going to do this. We're going to now put 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and we're going to have a level 8 dwarf. So a level 8 adventure. A level 8 adventure gives us a lot of possible benefits. But first and foremost, we can put an extra stable in. Double resize, and that one goes there. This means we can have more boars. So there's 1. Next up, we can go and take an extra... Could take an extra sheep, put us up to a limit. We could take an extra donkey, which gives us a guaranteed set of 5 food. I think we're going to take, though, the furnished cavern option. Because what that'll allow us to do is go and take the... Did we already take the stone storage? No, stone storage is free wood, so we don't have enough to do that. Could take ore storage. There's probably not much benefit to doing that, other than just annoying other people. Which, you know, has its own advantages, in all honesty. The working cave allows us to feed a dwarf with 1 stone. You know what, I'm not convinced, actually, by doing anything more than that. I thought that was doing a little... Stable's fine. We're not going to finish a cavern. We're going to take 2 victory points. And I think we might even take another boar, just because that would... No, actually, we can take another donkey. So that's... Stable, 2 victory points, and a donkey, which gives us the breeding pair again. So we now have 4, and that's 5 extra food, which means we have 12 food there, and we are well on our way. And that's before I do anything else. Level 12 dwarf gets the level 4 adventure yet again. Or do they? I think almost certainly they do, but it might actually be worth preparing ruby mines and things for later. So I think what green is going to do... Green is going to take the ore miner construction, which is worth 3 victory points here. And we can put it here. And so we shall put it there. Lock that in place. And huzzah, we immediately gain 3 ore for that. Which I will just copy the 3 that's there. I can actually just go copy, paste. And we can now go on a level 2 adventure with our level 12 dwarf. And the level 12 dwarf can do a few things. What I think he's going to do is he's going to put down an extra field, which is the alternate side of... Actually, where is that then? It's on the other side of the ruby mine. There we go. We're going to put down another one of these, which again fills up a space. Lock, and then we're going to immediately go and do this. So, oh, whoops, one extra. You don't have that. So yeah, we've basically set up another set of +5 foods available. Yeah, I think that's about as good as we could have done there. White is now at a point of considering. Because I think we do want to try and... We do want to maximise our point scoring a little bit here. We still have a level 4 adventure available, which is a surprise in all honesty. We've actually managed to keep it. I think, though, what we could probably do with doing is... this is tricky. I think on balance, we could furnish a dwelling and then do that. That's possible. It's knowing we still need 8 food at the end of this, and we have none. We still have a level 4 adventure, so it's not as if it's all doom and gloom. But I think we're going to take the drift mining space at this stage, which does not help us get any food in any way, shape, or form, but does get another couple of spaces filled in. And we're going to go here. We get 1 food for that. Thank you. So it's not quite all doomed. We have a lot of pumpkins coming in, but of course there are victory point conditions, so we want to try and keep those as much as possible. We now move on to red, second to last tile. And I think red might now consider going for all of this ore. Red, of course, does not have the ore mine, so they just have that. And what red's going to be doing is probably trading all of that in for additional bonus points. Which I think makes a lot of sense to everybody here. So that's done. Green has no more dwarfs left. Level 13 dwarf. Level 13 dwarf is going on a level 4 adventure. So, what we're going to do at this point is we're going to take an extra cattle, giving us 6. We're then going to go and put in... We could build another dwelling, actually. It's 3 victory points for that, so it's not completely worthless, but I was sort of planning on doing sort of other mining jobs with it. What we need to do here, though, is just see if we can maximize our food a little bit. So 1 there. We could go and take pumpkin. We could go and furnish a cavern. Is there anything that would give us extra food at this point? I think all the immediate food tiles have gone. 2 boars into... Yeah, we only have 2, though. Okay, so 1 cattle. There's no field spaces that we can sow at this point. So I think we're going to take a extra boar, which we can put there for the moment. We shall take the donkey, because why not? And the donkey can go in the mine, upside down. And we shall take a... I'm going to take a one-step pasture for 2 points. So we're relying on the field phase a little here, but we're basically, you know, point scoring. Point scoring is key. And finally, we have the last 0 dwarf here, and they're going to trade in 6 for the remaining food they need. So that gets them free food. They probably could have gone for victory points, and that might have been a better way of playing it. But, you know, we're going to keep all the animals for victory points that way around. Also, drink. Okay. So, all things being done, we now start with red, because they are the starting player currently. So, we have an extra pumpkin. We have an extra wheat. We have an extra wheat. Field phase over here. We have an extra wheat. We have, whoops, that's sheep. Pumpkin, pumpkin, wheat. We have pumpkin. 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 We have wheat. So yeah, I did have the food. I just didn't want to spend all my pumpkins if I could avoid it, at least on this side. Right. So, food phase. 10 food for each of the 10 dwarves. Done. Over here, we need 6, so we're going to pay 1 and 1 and 1. And that's done. Finally, we have white. And what white is going to do is they're going to pay... Oh, this is rather costly, I think, but I think it's got to be done this way. One and 1, so that's 2 food. 4, 6, 8, and that leaves 2 and 2. That's probably the best way to do it, because we do have breeding pairs and things to sort ourselves out. So, speaking of breeding pairs, we now have the maximum allotted sheep in here for the moment. Oh, I should have thought about that a little. We can have an extra boar. There's no room for donkeys, so that's done. Over here, there is room for an extra... Actually, there is room for an extra sheep. That maxes that out, though. And over here, we have 1 sheep, 1 pig, and 1 cattle. The donkey is on his own in the mines going... Which is what I imagine they sound like, which is odd, because they don't. Right. So, final turn, and then scorekeeping. So, red has the most options on the final turn, and is the starting player. White has 4 dwarves. That level 13 has leveled up, but I need to just... So, it's a level 14 dwarf. Level 14 dwarves are powerful. So... Priorities then, maximize points. Also, you're now level 13, I think, but that's not a massive problem at this stage. Level 13, level 7, level 0. Okay, final phase of this. By the way, this now flips and is the double adventure space. So, level 1 to 8, then a level 1 adventure, then a level 1 adventure. 1 there, 1 there. We need an extra food tile, which I can place here. Copy, paste, and paste. Oh, there is another harvest at the end of this, by the way. There we go. So that's food done. Rubies. We need 1 and 1. And 1. Also, I think I should have taken an extra 2. Oh, 2 per line. That's it. 1 sheep is required down here. 1 donkey is required here. And all of the wood. Right, so with everything kind of restocked, I think it is all restocked actually, Red now begins the final turn. So obviously she now has a level 8 dwarf somewhere who has to go last. Unless she wishes... Oh, it's actually a level 9 dwarf. Gotta remember that. That's rather terrible of me. At least I caught it. At least I caught it. So, in order to maximize points, we need to get rid of the last few cavern spaces, and we need to go and put something in there. So, we could easily actually just go with the writing chamber. We have the spare stone. But it's whether we want to do that, because we could go take, say, the extra... Go stone storage. We need a bit more wood for that, though. Actually, that works out quite nicely here. So we can go clearing. And the reason we go clearing is because that gives us the 3 we need. And we can go and put this in. Covering up the last of the spaces. We now have enough to go and build the stone storage. So that's actually not a bad play. Moving on to green. Green, similar issues, but with less tiles to do this with. We know food's no longer an issue. We can do that with our last things here. So how do we optimize the last 2 turns? We could go on a level 6 adventure and double level these, but I think the best way we can do this right now here's the thing, this ore mine is worth 4 points. In fact, it's worth a lot more than 4 points, so we're going straight here. This gets us a ruby mine. That's worth 4 points. Immediately we get a ruby. So that now gives us... That is a 6-point move. We're not going to do better than that for the first opening. So that's now done. Over here. So, knowing there's another harvest coming up, knowing we have other things we can do... What we want to do is try and kill off some of our negatives. And also make sure that we have enough food. We need 8. This tile's basically out. I'm just trying to sort things a little. And also because I'm planning on putting things there. So... So. 2 and 2. We have 1 actual space available, and we in fact can go food chamber. That costs us 2 pumpkins and isn't actually going to give us all that much. The beer parlor would allow us to replace our wheat. We only have 1 storage thing in any case, so I think what we're looking at here family growth and sow. Did we get any points for our dwarves at the end of this? Let me just have a quick check. 1 gold per dwarf. Yeah, so each dwarf is worth 1 victory point. So having to feed the extra dwarf would be a pain. But we could do it. It just wouldn't give us a benefit at this point in the game, which is a bit of a downer. What does red need? Red needs the stone, really, and red probably actually just needs that. It's only negative 4 points, but it is 4 points. And it would get me 2 points. Or I could go and do something like this. Grab the extra ore. Grab 3 points instead of... So that then go on a level 2 adventure. Which kind of goes, but not massively so. Got done it. Alright. There's free food on starting player. There's 6 food available if I were to do this, but we obviously don't want to do it all. And it would allow me to build a stable. Alright, we're going donkey farming. And what we're doing here is going to immediately spend 2 of these. Because you don't have room for them. Actually, we do have room for them. Okay, hold on. Bear with. There we go. So I do have room for them. And this now means that... Yeah, we're doing that. I'm not going to use either of my things for other things. So we're going to leave that. and move along. So, over to red again. So red has now cleared out that last space. We now have enough to go for stone storage, and what we want to do here is go furnish a cavern, giving us another dog. We're then going for stone storage, which locks immediately is worth 1 ore and free wood. So all in all, not bad. Right, level 7. And what we're going to do here is go straight for the ruby delivery. It doesn't matter which way around we do this. We get 2. And then we actually get 2 more. If nothing else, green is going to end the game rich. And we have the potential to do that again if we so wished. White, seeing that, is now a little wary. That's a lot of points there, in all honesty. A lot of points. Each one of them is worth 1 normally. It's worth a second one, though, to him because he's got the treasure storage. There's 1, 2, 5, 10, 15. So he's showing 30 points there. 30 is a lot. 30 is a lot, and we'd rather not give him an extra 8 for going there, so I'm going to take that away from him. Take 2 rubies for myself. They're worth less points to me, but I can do things with them. Red. Red does have the option of sneaking ahead, but red is actually going to take advantage of the fact that we've left this open, and she's going to put that there. And she's gone for this particular one because this allows us to have another cavern, which might, for a last move, go for the storage, the main storage, which would give us 6 points at the end of the game for that, which is not a bad last move, though she does need 2 more wood to make it work. She does kind of have the ability, though. She could easily just go wood on the last grab and then an adventure to finish off. Level 13 dwarf. Let's max out our points, shall we? Rubies are already taken. We weren't massively expecting that to continue. So, we have a level 13 adventure. What we can do is we can sow the last of the vegetables here, because they'll be worth extra. We'll get 2 extra points doing that. Just 1, 2. Next up, we're going to take another cattle. So that's our second used up, and that will give us a breeding pair, and also... Actually, we don't have anywhere to put the breeding pair, do we? Not unless I move the pig somewhere. If I went for the the double pasture, I could then put the shoe sheep back in there. No, because I need the extra space. Okay. So we're going off at -6 in any case. I don't have enough to build the cavern space because I wasn't high enough level. We've already gone for 2. I could put a stable out there, though, onto a random space. So donkey is definitely the best plan here, but I'm just looking. So I could put an extra stable out. That's free. Could then get a donkey to finish up, and that would give me... That would give me one of each of the animals. In fact, no, I don't need to. No, what am I thinking? I can actually just put a donkey on anyway, because I can got the space available. So yeah, we're going to have a donkey, because that prevents us having the -2. And at least one more possible get. And I think the best thing at this stage is to just take the extra point for having that. So that's green done. There probably was a better way of optimizing that. In fact, no, hold on. We have the spare, so I'm actually going to ignore that, and we're going to put in the 4-point pasture. This now replaces this, although the dog can still do his own thing. So we still get the donkey. We still get to put that there. So yeah. So, donkey, cattle, pasture. Okay, all locked. L key to lock. And that's green out. So, white still has a couple of moves. So level 4 adventure doesn't really help me out an awful lot, in all honesty. But what I can do is I can replace 4 ore for 4 victory points. Is there a better move than that, though? It probably isn't, in all honesty. There's 2 points available if I do that. There's 3 points available for the beer storage, which I can convert 2 into 2 food. Into 4 food, rather. Which isn't necessarily a bad plan. Could go and take that, which gives me 2. Yeah, the beer parlour is definitely the better way to go with this. So, looking at things then, that is my option. So I'm going to go... Is there a furnished cavern space left? There isn't, actually. Ah. Sneaky. Okay, forgetting that then, what I'm going to do is I am going to try and get some more food. There's free food for starting players, so I'm going to nab that. Grab an extra couple of ore. Leaving the level 14 dwarf available. And now we move on to red. So, with a level 0, and not a lot else really needed. We still have a lot of animals and things. We definitely have food sorted out. We would like cattle, but we can get that in the last turn, I think. No, actually, we can't get cattle. Ah, unless we spend thing and food. Which actually is not a bad plan either, is it? So I'm going to immediately convert this to food. Sorry, I know I just stole it from you, but I will get that back. We're then going to spend ruby and... Actually, do I have anywhere to store them? I don't. Ah! Okay. Well, it doesn't matter. I'm still... I don't know. Ah! Okay. If we have a place... If we can store it... Yes, breakfast room. Breakfast room. I need wood. Okay, so here's the desperate plan. We're going to go for this. We're going to pick up all of the wood. We're going to have an extra pumpkin. Not really a desperate plan, I'm just optimizing. Because that allows us to go and get the extra cattle. And that is worth 3 points to us if we get this extra cattle. Where are we going to put it again? No, breakfast room. That's it. We're going to go on the adventure. We're going to furnish a cavern, which will allow us to do it. Yes, yes, it all works. It all works. Trust me, it all works. I think. I don't know. What am I doing? Level 14 dwarf will go on a level 3 adventure. So, we can breed animals. 1. We could put a stable in, and we are going to put a stable in. We have bonus points for our milking parlours anyway, and you can put 2 stables in the same pasture. So we're going to do that. That's 1. Second, we're going to breed up to 2 types of farm animals. So that's 1. And unfortunately, we can't do a second. It does say 2 types. So that's stable, and that's 2 done. 1 more still to go. So do we furnish at this point? I think we might furnish for beer. Yeah, so we're going to furnish for the last area for beer. Lock the board. We're about as done as we can be with white. For now. Now, the other thing we can do, we have free food and free rubies. So I could go and triple cattle to end this. And in fact, that's not a bad idea. Now, rubies are worth 1 point each to me. And cattles are worth free food each. So I'm actually going to do that. We will look at what green can do for end game optimization in a little bit, but that's not a bad play for me in a lot of ways. So cattles are worth more. I don't think white's won this, but I think we might still be holding our own. This leaves a level 9 dwarf. The level 9 dwarf can... Oh, god, I've completely lost track of what I was focusing on here. But I think what we're going to do is we are going to go on an adventure. We're going to go ore mine construction because it's the only one left. That will allow us 2 actions, and we do need 2. So, firstly, with level 9, we can spend 1 wood and get an extra stable. Table area, so that would allow us to do that. We could then go and do 1 bit of furnishing. Yeah, okay, so first off, we're going to go for the level 9, 1 pasture. 2 points. Lock. In between that, we're going to go and spend 1 and 1 for cattle, which I'll just borrow from you. Don't need a breeding pair, though it would be helpful admittingly, but we're still just going to go with that. Second action, we're going to go and furnish a cavern. We're going to furnish for the main storage, which is 2 and 1. I'm going to put the main storage in there. Lock. And that is game. As soon as we go through the harvest. So, field phase to begin with then. Might as well start this in the proper order. So, wheat comes off. Wheat comes off. Pumpkin comes off. Note, you still, for scoring purposes, it doesn't matter if we're on the field or not, but obviously you can't use them for food if they're not off of the fields. They are still ripening. Okay. Food phase. So, red requires 10 food. And currently has no food. So, what we're going to sort this out is we're going to spend that for 5 food. 6. 7, 8, 9, 10. There probably were a little more optimization ways to do that. I know we get a point for each 2, but we basically gave a victory point to make sure we were fed, which is important because we don't want these. Right, green requires that, and 1 food, and they are fed. Bit of a waste of that extra food because it doesn't give anything bonuses, but still, it's done. White requires 8. So, because of that, we're going to go for 1, 2, 3, 4. 5, 6. 7, 8. Okay. So now we come to the scoring. And there are things I have to do in sort of order here. I'm going to do it for sort of order here. So, starting off, and I'm just going to go into the notepad, which is notepad. So, starting with white, red, green. So, first phase of scoring. And I'm just going down the list of the thing which is there. You might have seen that. I don't know. I can't actually see my webcam at this point, but I know it's recording. So, white, first off, will gain 1 point for every farm animal and dog. I believe that we get bonus points at the end there, but I'm going to count up whatever the points are worth anyway. So, for animal sakes, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7... No. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22. I believe that is 22 animals. I should really arrange these slightly better. It's 5, 11 cattle, 15, 17, 21, 22. So 22 in terms of just animals at this stage for white. Red has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20 points for the number of animals. We'll do bonus points a bit later because I think bonus points are towards the end. Yeah, parlors, storages, and chambers are actually towards the bottom, which is what they are. They're technically bonus points there. Meanwhile, green has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 points for animals. Missing types. Now, currently, white has all 4. Actually, does the dog count as a... Oh, actually, we have a dog as well, so we have all 5. Red has all 5, and I think green has all 5 as well. Yes. So there's no negative points. It would be -2 per. Right. Grain. Half points rounded up. So white gets 2 points for the grain. Including in the fields, of course. Red gets 2 points for the grain. And green gets 2 points for the grain. Vegetable. And S, because, you know, I try to do the was add keys, but if I'm obviously selecting that there. This can be moved around, by the way. And it also does appear in the right here, as you probably noticed throughout me playing this. So, veggies, they're worth 1 point each, so white has 26. Yeah, I did do that thing there. Sorry, I had a sudden thought that I might not have done the fooding there, but yes, I have. Red has 25, and that is 4 points for green, going up to 17. Okay, per ruby. Ha 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 ha. Right, so we already know that white has none, red has none, green has 15 rubies. 32 points and takes the temporary lead. Per dwarf, 1 point per. In Agricola, it was 3 points per, which is why it was absolutely forced. This is kind of less so. So white has 4 and goes up to 30. Red has 5 and goes up to 30. Green has 3 and goes up to 35. Per unused space, -1. So immediately white loses 4 points, goes down to 26. Red loses 2 points, goes down to 28. Oop, ah. Okay, that was rather bad of me. What have I done here? I can't undo the notepad. No, I can undo the notepad, actually. Okay, good to know. You can backspace, Control-Z, or using the back arrow, and it will affect whatever you do on the notepad. Okay, so at this point, -4 takes to 26. Always worth knowing how to reverse things, although it does cause loading issues for anybody else in the game. Red goes down to 28. And green is missing 6 spaces. And never got the bonus food, actually. Which I probably should have done towards the end, but it doesn't matter. Green was actually sorted on the food front and probably could have gone for a 4th dwarf earlier if I was looking back. You can always see how you might have optimized things a little better. So, that's unused spaces. Furnishing tiles, pastures, and mines. So, these are all of the sort of plus points on the board. So, white has 8, 12, 16. Hold on. Right, I can count me. 16, 17, 18. 1 per. In fact, that's probably do that at the end. Now, I'm assuming that means bonus points, but I'm just going to count them all up anyway. Sorry. So let me continue on and count this up for the 3rd time. 17, 18. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 points there. So this is... Oh, for God's sake. I'm having a really bad throw. Okay, I'm trying to think about too many things at once. Clearly, this is my problem. It is a problem. I can't count. You know, we're just going to have to live and bear with it. That's what we're going to have to do, folks. So... 20, 31, 34, 37 points for white. I'm just going to double check this. I don't trust myself anymore. But 37 points for white means that that's 63 at that point. Okay. Yeah, we're gonna go with that. We're gonna go with that. I don't think it's that at all. I don't know. I'm having such a bad moment. I'm having a mare at the end of the game. I do apologize immensely to everybody involved. So yeah, in the end, I didn't get all that much, did I? Still, 37. I mean, the only reason I'm saying not very much is because it does say in the game an average score is about 80, and there's no further points really available for parlor storages and chambers. But we kind of... So white had a bad game. We'll see how red did. And then we'll debate things. So, red gains 2, 4, 8, 12, 18. Because it's 2 for each of the greens, so that's 18. 1 per stone. $28. Weaving parlour, which goes up to now 31. That should have been locked, by the way. 34. 37. 39 points there for red. So 67. Green then earns 8 points for the outer fields. 10, 17, 19, 34, 38, 41, 44 points. Which I believe puts green in the win. Oh, in fact, plus 2 points, so that's plus 2 for the coin there, 75, and plus 2 for white, taking that 75, and plus 2 for red, taking that to 79. So clearly, red had the advantage, and I obviously played very suboptimally towards the end there, or I should have been thinking about points earlier, but green with the ruby strategy actually managed to come back into this game quite a lot. I mean, that's 30 points in rubies. I'm sure somebody will tell me I counted the points wrong, but I'm fairly certain that's it. Go coins and begging markers are already kind of accounted for. I've done the parlors, chamber storages and things in the points already. But yeah, getting the stereos upgraded is clearly a more valid strategy than necessarily filling out the areas. I mean, sure, that's negative 2 points, plus 2 points at the end of the game for covering it. But if you're not scoring maximum bonus points, then I guess that's not massively worth it, because I didn't even get to weapon storage. So, okay, this is actually my first full going through of this. I've been running off the rules, and while I've sort of played it in the background a couple of times, this is my first proper full run-through of a game by myself, and clearly I'm not as good at this game as I thought I was, or I'm amazing at screwing myself up. So any queries, comments, or, you know, questions, I'll try and explain them in the comments below, and if you'd like me to explain any other board games, which is available on Tabletop Simulator, I will have a go at that too. What I have to do at this point is the favourite end move of all tabletop gaming. Close that, and press the flip table button. The Channel 2012, and I'll see you another time, folks.